We are opening up the meeting. We have first off, public hearing notice on a variance 15 Old Dudley Road. Do we have an applicant here? 15 Old Dudley Road. It being 7:01, we will we will have that matter step back, and we will proceed with the second public hearing.
7:05.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have to step it back for 4 minutes until we can call the second public hearing, and that will be 6 Westgate Drive, and is the applicant here? Sir, are you here for a certain matter?
Just 15, my neighbor, a couple of houses. I just come to listen in.
Do you know how to get a hold of them?
No, I don't, I mean, it's 2 houses up from me. I don't have his phone number, so, or anything.
Okay.
I mean,
I have his phone number in the application. Want me to try and call him?
Oh, that hasn't happened in a while,
I don't remember
Maybe
that
ever.
ever
Yeah.
happening.
huh? Yeah.
I mean, if you don't show up, I really would, I hate to deny it, because then
I'd
it's
say
2
we-
or 3 years.
Yeah, I think we should just continue it maybe, and, maybe they had some emergency or something come up, the benefit of the doubt. Maybe we'll have to do a vote to continue it.
But after a second time of
Yeah,
not
if it was
coming,
the second time, yeah, I agree. Wasn't there, what's the other thing you can do, like,
Well-
without prejudice or something?
I don't think we can deny
need-
it without
You need
prejudice
a letter from them
to
saying
withdraw.
withdraw. That's that one. There, it's seconded at best.
He's on his way. He thought it was 7:30.
Okay. All right, well, he'll have to wait till 7.
Well, he'll have to wait until after Westgate
wait.
Drive is taken care of then.
His public hearing notice says 7, so.
We are a magnanimous board, and it's not like we were just gonna say, oh, 7:01, he's not here, we'll vote. All right. Well, Westgate Drive, why don't you come on up, and we got about another minute before we can start.
here.
Yeah. Pick a seat, whichever one you like. No, that's the wrong
The
one.
wrong one, I always do that.
Feet up on the other one.
Haven't been getting it right lately, yep.
Oh, you're married too?
Yep.
She watching?
Huh?
She watching?
Well, sometimes. Not all the time, though.
Good evening. Sorry I'm late.
Not a problem.
You didn't miss anything, Tom.
Just gonna switch name tags.
Okay.
Senior citizens do forget sometimes, you know.
Okay. It being 7:05, we are proceeding with a public hearing, a variance application 6 Westgate Drive. The applicant, Anthony Seymour, are you Mr. Seymour? All right, Mr. Seymour, you have, no, I'm sorry. Would you mind reading the public notice? Steve, it's been a while.
I'm here.
I thought you would assume that position permanently.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held on Thursday, November 17th, 2022, at 7:05 PM by the Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals at the Oxford Town Hall, 325 Main Street, Oxford, Mass. To consider the variance application of Anthony J. Seymour for property owned by the applicant located at 6 Westgate Drive, Oxford, Mass. Assessors map 29D, parcel A17, in the R3 residential zoning district. The applicant requests variance of a minimum side yard and front yard setback requirements that's set forth in Chapter 10, Table 6 of the Oxford zoning bylaws to construct a 10 by 10 shed and further in accordance with the Chapter 40A, Section 10 of the MGL. The application can be viewed in the office of the town clerk or land management department during normal office hours. Anyone desiring to be heard on this matter should appear at the place, date, and time designated, or submit written comments to the board, therefore the date of the hearing. See masspublications.org for legal notice. Board of Appeals, Town of Oxford. To the applicant of the Zoning Board of Appeals, you are hereby advised of the following provisions of the Oxford zoning bylaws. Appeals to the Zoning Board of Appeals must be filed within 20 days from the date or order of the decision which is being appealed, specifying the grounds thereof. Variances. In order to grant a variance from the requirements of this bylaw, the Zoning Board of Appeals must find that all of the following conditions have been met. There are unique circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, or topography of such land or structures. B, especially affect such land or structures but do not generally affect the zoning district in which it is located. And that C, a literal enforcement of the provisions of this bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, but not of a personal nature, to the petitioner or appellant. And that D, desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public and good, with nullifying or substantially derogating from the purpose of this bylaw. In accordance with Chapter 40A, Section 15 of the Mass General Laws, you are hereby advised that any person aggrieved by the decision of the board relative to this matter must file an appeal as provided for in Section 17 of said Chapter 40A within 20 days after the date of the filing of this decision in the office of the town clerk.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to the applicant to present the matter to the board. You have the floor, sir.
I needed storage. That's basically, there's
Can
not a
you-
lot about it.
State your name for the record and pull the microphone closer so you can be heard better, please.
Anthony Seymour. And I built the shed because I need the storage. My house is cathedral, there's no attic. I have a young family, and I accumulate so much stuff, I don't know what to do with it. And that's really it.
So I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that I'm following along with you. You already put the shed up?
The shed's there. The shed was already there. I didn't know that I couldn't put a shed there. I had no idea. I was under the requirement for the square footage, and I was away from the property lines because everybody in my neighborhood, they have them right on their property line. I thought I was being considerate keeping it far away from the property line. I didn't know that I needed a permit for that. I had no idea.
So right now, it is, you're saying it's 10 feet away from the side yard.
It's almost 11, but I put 10 or 10 and a half on there, I think. And it's
And-
22 feet from the street.
What are you using it for?
All storage of holiday stuff, extra blankets, clothing, ATVs. And that's it.
Is there a concrete pad?
No. It's on blocks.
Okay. All right, is there anything else that you'd like to lay out to the board as part of your presentation before I open it up to questions from the board?
I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you, really.
Well, you have the floor. Anything you want to tell us,
Right,
we want to
I
make
just-
sure you have that opportunity.
Right, I gotcha. I just need storage, that's what I need. I need something to put more stuff in.
All right. So does that mean that you don't have anything else to lay out? So I can open it up to members of the board to ask you questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Tom, we're going to start down with you. Would you like a moment?
For a 10-by-10 shed, what's the side yard
It's
setback?
not a 10 by 10 though, I don't know why that says that.
Well, it says that in your application, doesn't it?
No.
I have the,
It does say on the
We
zoning.
were under the impression,
The
10 by
application,
10.
the application is for a 10 by 10. So what are the measurements?
12 by 16.
The zoning enforcement officer's thing shows 12 by 16.
That's on my application. I put the right size.
so the shed that he sketched on his Title V is 10 by 10. That's why we thought it was 10 by 10.
Maybe you're going by the
Mary,
10 feet from the,
Hold on one second, Mr. Seymour. I'm just gonna, Mary, that may pose an issue. We have advertised a hearing on a certain shed, but the square foot area is, we have two different measurements in our packet.
Understood.
My-
You can make an amendment to the application from 10 by 10 to 12 by
16.
16.
My concern is not necessarily the application, but the newspaper ad.
Scrivener's error.
Okay. So we have a 12 by 16. Tom, I apologize, you have the floor.
I suppose I've got a couple of questions. Number one is the pool. Is it an in-ground or an above-ground pool?
In ground.
It's an in-ground pool,
Yeah.
okay. And you say the shed, according to the drawing, the shed's gonna be 3 feet from the pool.
It's 3 feet from the fence of the pool, and then right behind that's the diving board.
Okay.
I
well,
just left enough
again,
room
this
so I
is the
could
pool-
walk by
That's the
there.
pool deck, so
Right.
mentioned 16 by 32, it's not the pool, that's the surround, the fence around the pool?
No, that's the pool.
Okay, so how far is the shed going to be from the fence?
It's like 3 feet from the fence of the pool. That's behind the diving board. I tried to bring it as close as I could back, you know.
All right, because, I mean, we got, the side yard dimension for this is supposed to be
15.
15 feet. Okay, and there's no offset requirement from the house, but we're also within the setback from the street. The street line was supposed to be, what, 25 feet? And there's no place else in the backyard that the fence could have, I mean, the shed could be put?
There's a shed in the backyard that was there when I bought the house, but it's not enough.
All right.
I
How
needed
big is
another.
how big is the backyard? Because usually what we get is a
And this is,
full drawing of the property lines to, you know, how big the,
It's 100 by 100 by 100, the whole lot.
I was reading it like this.
yeah.
So definitely, the yard is 100 long, so that's with the pool and the backyard and everything. And 100
I
deep.
can see a couple of obstacles with trying to get a shed in the backyard. Would be
Well-
my concern, running over the septic system with
Yeah,
with a heavy shed like that might impact the septic system. Obviously, you can't go over the pool unless we wait till the wintertime and it's frozen, and then we get slided over the pool. But that's not a good
put a
idea.
little hut and pretend to ice fish.
I'm
right?
being kidding, I'm
Gotcha.
being cute.
Well, the space between the lot line and the pool is 10 feet?
From the what?
The lot line to the pool?
Side.
Yes, I'm sorry, thank you, the sideline
The
to the
side
pool.
of the left side of the pool to the neighbor, you mean?
Yeah.
In between there?
It
It's
looks to be.
about that. It's about that. It's kind of like in line with the shed.
I think
'cause
that's a
the-
requirement, is a side, for the pool was a side, 10-foot side yard setback?
No, it should be,
It
it
should
should
be
comply with the
15?
zoning, of 15 feet.
Okay.
But that was already there when I bought the house where the fence is. I never touched that.
Do you know how old the pool is?
Yeah, old. 80s.
Al, was that before zoning? Yeah. With a pool in the 80s?
We had zoning in the 70s.
Okay, that answers that question.
Right.
And it's beyond 10 years, which poses an issue
Pre-existing
for the town.
non-conforming, Right. And how long has the shed been, your existing shed been there? The one that we're talking in question?
Since I bought the house. So you can go do the
Okay,
Google
but
things
how
you was
long is
talking about.
that?
You'll see it was there
How
long,
long,
right?
how long is that?
How long is the shed?
When did you buy the house?
2006.
Okay, so it's
So
been
the
there,
shed that you sent a picture of has been there since 2006?
That?
Yes,
That's the new one.
the new
yeah,
one.
okay.
No, he asked me about a back shed.
No, I'm asking you about the new one in the front.
Oh, the new one in the front.
Yeah.
How long's it been there?
Yeah.
Months.
All right,
It's just, that's new.
okay.
Well,
I thought you were asking me about the one in the back.
Yeah, no,
is that this one right here?
What one?
It looks like you have a structure in the back of the house that butts up right to the lot line. Was that what you were telling us is a shed in back?
There's a shed in the back. There's two sheds in the back.
Oh, that's a shed.
I think so.
and you already have two sheds on the property, now you're looking to put a third one on?
Right.
Okay. Answers my questions.
Oh, okay, thank you, Tom. Bob, please.
You said the shed is gonna be, the new shed's gonna be 12 by 16, and on our drawing here, the little drawing here, it says 10 by 10. Which way is the 16?
10 by 10.
Which way,
I didn't bring my paperwork.
which way is the 16 going? Along the street?
Oh, it actually doesn't give a size.
Right,
10 feet.
no, right, I'm 10 feet from the house, I'm 10 feet from the fence,
So we,
22 feet from the street, 3 feet from the pool fence.
okay.
So that's how it got confused, is because
It's
I was,
10 by 10.
they asked for the measurements, it's like, I forgot his name, the building inspector. He said, how far is it from the house? Write that on there.
Okay.
And how far was it from the fence? So that's why it got confused, because it says 10 by
16
10.
wide. This is
We
probably
didn't say
16
list the
this
size, because we
way.
wrote it in the
Which is what Bob's
application.
asking.
That's what I
That
thought.
doesn't answer my question. Which way is the, which way is the, looking at the house?
Yeah.
Bob, if I may, from this mechanical or semi-mechanical drawing, it looks like the shed is as wide as the pool.
Okay.
So I would,
Okay,
so
so-
it would seem that the
Right.
16 is
Parallel to the street?
parallel to the street. Does that answer,
Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Seymour, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, and how wide is the slab going around the pool at the point where the shed and the pool are gonna intersect? How, in other words, you've got a concrete slab going around the pool, right?
Well, it's pavers.
Okay, pavers, whatever it is.
But yeah, so
So-
figure 3
so
feet.
From the pool edge behind the shed, from the
To the
pool
shed is
edge
what you got.
to the fence,
Oh, to the
how many
fence.
feet about is that?
Um,
You know, the slab, how?
I get it. Yeah, right there, we're probably about 2.5 feet, because that's where the diving board
Yeah.
is.
And then you got another, probably another 2.5 feet to the back of the shed, correct? From the
Yeah, it's like
fence?
3.
Okay,
It's closer to 3.
all right, I'm just trying to put this in perspective
I get
here,
it.
so that we know what we got here. All right, that's about it for me.
All right, Al, do you have any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, Al. Steve?
The other two, how big are the other two sheds that you have on the property?
The other one in the very back, they're like close to the same size as that. Like 12 by 16.
Yeah, both of them?
Yeah. Chucked absolutely full.
Is that house on a slab, or is it, you got a cellar?
It's got a cellar.
Does it?
Yeah. It's kind of an unusual house. I never seen one like that before. They call it a reverse split. So like when you buy a raised yeah, I know, I never heard of it. A raised ranch. See how it's got 3 levels, or an L ranch is a tri-level. Mine's a straight ranch, but a tri-level. It's wide open, the whole house, and it's got an open staircase, and it's actually pretty cool. It is. You don't think that's what it is from the front of the house. It looks like a normal ranch, but when you look at it from the side, you can see it's got 2 floors in the back. So it's all cathedral in there. There's no attic in the house at all. Or I would have more storage. Yeah, I wouldn't need another shed. But I don't have any place to put anything in the house.
So this picture here, the pool's on the left-hand side?
It's on the
Yeah, right side.
right-hand side, right where you see that fence that's there, but that's going too, because I can't stand it. It looks horrible. But now that I got the shed there,
16
now I'm
foot.
gonna do a nice, beautiful fence to connect to the house and
pool.
connect to there and make it nice, you know what I mean?
Your 3 feet
That's what I wanna do next year, but I'm just out of
The
time now.
street's
I
that way.
can't.
28,
So the fence will be
17.
3 feet from the shed, like it is now?
Yeah,
12,
or I'm gonna go to the corner of the shed,
that's 3,
and I'll incorporate that 3 feet
so.
to the 2.5 feet left, you know what I mean, and make
Oh, I know
make
what
that
you
more area there. I'd rather do that, and then you can just walk right out the house and go right over to the shed to the side door instead of going through a gate and. And then I want to do like a paver. The front of the shed before I build the ramp is I would make a nice paver patio going to a nice fence that connects from the house to the shed. You know what I mean? Make it really nice. I'm kind of like an aesthetic guy. I like things to look good.
And the septic system's right directly behind the house?
Yeah. So you have to get in from the side of the garage. If it ever had to be changed, you can get through the side of the garage and kind of, I made a gate there, a rolling gate, so you could drive a piece of equipment in there if it ever had to happen.
I got them all set.
Thank
Thank you, Dave.
I had questions about where the fence and the location, but I think it's all been answered by the other people's questions. Town water or septic, or a well
I have town.
down? Okay. That's the only question I had.
Mr. Seymour, how old are the 2 sheds in back of the property?
The one in the back, I don't know, because it was there when I bought the house. The other one I did like 2 years after I bought the house, 3 years, a long time ago.
So you bought the property in 2016?
No, 6.
06.
Okay, 06. So it's about 2009, so we're talking about 13 years ago. Okay. Could you explain the reason why you put it there as opposed to maybe behind the pool next to the existing shed?
Because I have young children, I have swing sets, trampolines. It's taking up my whole yard. I can't do anything else back there with that stuff, you know what I mean? I can't. And one of them's only 6 years old, so it's gonna be there a while.
Gotcha.
I'm kind of stuck, is basically why. I would have never put it in the front, but since I did, now I'm gonna beautify that whole area in the front to make curb appeal there and make it, you know, make it aesthetically correct, because that's what I'm about. That's what I do. If you've seen the inside of my house, you'd see, that's what I do, is I'm a remodeling guy. I do interior, and that's how I like things. But I gotta start somewhere. And I know I needed the shed because I have stuff that is in my garage, and I need my garage for all my tools, everything. I don't have any room. I need a bigger house. So I'm thinking about maybe buying another house soon that's bigger. I need one a little bit bigger. But right now, I'm there. And what's going on in the world, I don't know if I want to go make the move yet. You know what I mean? I'm probably safer to stay where I am for a minute and see what happens.
All right, I have no further questions. If there are no other questions from members of the board, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I just got one question.
Please.
The shed's freestanding, you said it's on blocks?
Yeah.
Cinder blocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be moved around.
Well,
So
it
it's not
could
a
be
per-
if you had to.
Yeah, so it's not a permanent,
No, it's not, no.
permanent structure, okay. That's all I have.
I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. I'll hear a second. Bob is second, and we'll vote. Tom? To close the public hearing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? Yes.
Yes.
And I'll make it unanimous. Is there any discussion that any members of the board would like to have on this?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll speak up now before we start looking at any voting. I have a big concern about a third shed now on the property.
Please.
I have, where is it going to end? Because he's running out of room and he needs another shed, and then he needs another shed, and
This one will work fine. I'm not gonna need another one.
I just have a big concern about that. I think the zoning and the building and everything is set for a moderate amount or a minimal, but to have a property full of sheds because he's running out of storage, I have a concern about that.
I happen to share your concern. I didn't realize, or it appeared that there was something in the backyard. I couldn't tell what. But now knowing that there are 3 12 by 16 sheds, it does prove a little troubling. Any other members have any thoughts, feelings on the matter? Al, please.
In my reading of this, he's come for variance. I don't see that he meets A. There are unique circumstances. I don't really see that. And B, especially affect the land or structures, but not generally affect the zoning district in which is it located. I don't think he meet actually any of these that, in order to get a variance. That's all I feel, looking at it.
Bob, please.
I'm looking at the aerial map we have here, and
Now, when you mention the aerial map, Bob, we're on so that we're all on the same page.
Yes.
This is what you're referring
Yes.
to. Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Seymour, this is what he's referring to. Okay.
and I don't notice other yards in the area with sheds out in front of their property. And where he has a couple of existing sheds in the back now, I understand that he's running out of room to put another shed, and that's why he wants to put it where he wants to put it. But the thing is, that, that's a small little neighborhood up there. I know where it is. And to have that on the front lawn, I mean, I know he wants to make it have curb appeal and so on, but it's still a shed on the front lawn.
My neighbor just put one on his front lawn. Right down the street from me. He just put one, a prefab. He just had it put there 2 weeks ago.
And I can certainly appreciate that you want to take part in the discussion. Unfortunately, this is a discussion that is only amongst the board. I would simply say to your comment if the shed that he put up is in violation of the zoning regulations, and the building commissioner has not already been made aware, the building commissioner can certainly be made aware. If it is, if it was put up according to the zoning regulations, then it was put up according to the zoning regulations, and it's proper. But I would ask that you allow the board to engage in the discussion that is necessitated by your application. Thank you, sir.
That's all I have to offer on this, to throw up to the board.
Yes, Tom, please.
Another concern that I have, if for some reason everything is denied tonight, what implications are there to the applicant? Does that mean that he can't come back for 7 years or whatever it is?
That's right, he can't come back. As to the amount of time, I thought it was 3 years?
2 years.
Oh, it's 2
2
years.
years, okay. Whatever the time frame is.
Well, the other is that the shed simply can't be there. If it's denied, the shed would have to be moved or removed.
My point is, or what I'm trying to drive at here, is that if the applicant wanted to rethink his position on how to approach this without getting a negative denial, he could come back in a month, or he could come back in whatever, in a much sooner time than that. I just don't want to get shot in the head and not be able to come back and remedy the situation other than remove the shed.
You bring up a good point, Tom, and let's look at that for a second. Procedurally, he's here because the building inspector denied his request to have the shed there.
Right.
So if he were to request that his application for a variance be withdrawn prior to a vote, I suppose he would be in a position where the building inspectors would say that shed must be removed. You don't have a right to have it there, and he could simply move it to another location where it would be in compliance with zoning regs, or remove it entirely.
More palatable, put it in a,
Yeah, no, to move it, move the pieces around the chessboard, as it
Right.
were, or to remove it entirely.
right.
But he would not have a denial, so there would not be a 2-year wait time to come back to the board again, but he would still have to move it somewhere or remove it. And that would then be up to the building inspector with respect to possibly a cease and desist, followed by seeking an order of the court ordering him to remove it.
See, if I may, now, one of the things that we worry about running over the septic system. Well, there is a way to get over the septic system with, they have these now, instead of plates, what they have is reinforced sheets. And all they do is you put it in, you can run 10-wheel dump trucks over the septic system. It won't hurt it. In a case like this with the trailer, pick the shed up and move it to a more acceptable location. Like back with the other 2 sheds along the property line. I understand with all the activity and all of that, but I'm just a little concerned that you don't want to slam a door or get a door slammed on you and then be able to get nothing. And I want you to, if there's an opportunity to rethink it, I'm sure that you could ask the building inspector for an extension more than if you got a denial tonight. It concerns me. I wouldn't want to see that either.
Chairman?
Yes.
I don't know, looking at the overhead picture, I don't see where he could place it in his backyard. I mean, to maintain the, it's the rear setback,
I'd never get it in the
20-foot rear setback. It would be,
Well,
you know, it
with all
would,
respect, I have members of the board that
I
are
mean-
looking to discuss it.
20-foot rear setback, it would be, you know,
Pretty close to
it would
the,
have-
abutting the back of the house.
yeah, it just doesn't seem reasonable. And I can understand, you know, he does have a hardship. He doesn't have enough space for his family.
Albeit, unfortunately, a self-imposed hardship.
Exactly.
Yes, Steve?
I'll throw this out there. So we have two existing sheds. What are the condition of the oldest shed that you have? Are they metal or are they wood?
No, it's wood.
They're all wood? What are the conditions of the sheds?
They're in good condition.
Okay. Sometimes, like all of us, you know, I'm guilty of it too, that you start throwing things in the shed, you start throwing things in the garage. How many houses I drive by, I look over at the garage and you think there's a car there, but everything that was in the house is in that garage, right, or shed. Then you start cleaning things out or reorganizing. Before you know it, you got room.
We all have a tendency to overaccumulate.
So it becomes a clutter. And where I'm going with this, if you went back and looked at both those sheds that you have, and see how, they use the word clutter and how misorganized they are, and like I said, we're all guilty of it, that you could actually get rid of one of those sheds in the back, and this one could take the place of it.
It's not gonna happen. I already did that a year ago. Everything in that other shed, the one in the back, those are all my materials for my living. I put all my materials in there. The garage is all my tools. The other shed over there is everything for the pool, the yard, lawn furniture, all that stuff. It's packed with all stuff we use every year. So we don't clutter like that. I'm not a clutter guy. I need the room. I would have never went and spent $8,000 to build a shed if I didn't need it. Why would I do that? I need it. I have to have it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Paul, please.
is it possible for me to ask him a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so you're saying you're keeping your materials and your tools and so on and so on and so forth for your business. Are you running your business out of your residence?
What do you mean? I have my business certificate with my address on it.
Well, what I'm getting at is that if you were to move your business to a place that, you know, rent a space to run your business out of, you would eliminate the problem of,
But you're adding debt to me.
I,
Why would I want to go add debt to my life when I have the
look,
space?
I'm just saying, I was a contractor for years, and I
Right.
ran my business separate from my home.
I
you know?
get it, but I don't want to, why do I want to jump into rent, especially the way the world is right now, and things are going not so good? Now I'm adding more debt, I got kids to feed.
I'm just looking at something here that isn't a good situation for you.
Right, I
either
got you.
way.
I got you. My place is neat.
You know what,
Nice and neat
I'm
and
not,
Organized.
I'm
Are
not,
there any other members of the board have any thoughts, comments, like to discuss any other issues? Aye. Mr. Seymour, prior to me asking the members of the board for a motion to approve, and if there are no motions to approve, then you may end up with a decision that you don't like. I will put it to you like this. Do you want to withdraw your application for a variance and meet with the building inspector to discuss a time period for you to bring the shed into compliance with regulations, either by moving it, relocating it somewhere, or removing it?
I'm stuck where it is. The only thing I could do is move it closer to my pool, and it's in my pool.
I think the board is sensitive to your needs. And whether it seems like that to you or not, this board always goes out of its way, in my opinion, my own opinion, to be sensitive to the needs of all applicants. There was some directly worded comments. I certainly am not here to tell you what to do, but I am giving you the option that you can either in writing request that the application for variance be withdrawn, or I will proceed and ask for a motion from any members of the board to approve your variance application. So I'll put it to you, which would you care, which road would you care to travel down, sir?
I don't know. I just can't believe this is this difficult, really. So I go do this, and then what? What do I do if I say withdraw it? I gotta go talk to the building inspector, and then what? I'm forced to move it.
You would be, yes.
Right. It's where it is because it has to be there. I have every neighbor that loves the shed. Nobody has a problem with it. They complimented on it. There's no problems here.
I am not trying to tell you which way you should go. I'm merely asking you if you have a desire one way or the other. If you want to proceed, I will proceed with your application.
If you withdraw, I'm sorry.
And what was that if I withdraw what?
Well, if you wish to withdraw, you need to put it in writing, making a request that the board allow you to withdraw. Then you should, if you go that way and the board allows you to withdraw, you're gonna have to go and sit down with the building inspector.
I don't know. Well, it's apparent it's just not gonna get approved here, so I guess that's what I have to do then.
I don't mean to suggest there's anything you have to do. I'm trying
get
to
it.
be sensitive, along with members of this board, to your situation and pose the question to you. You do not have to go that way. You are not required to go that way. You can simply proceed, and there might be votes here to allow your application for a variance. And I apologize, but we have another, a public hearing, so I would need you to make a decision.
I guess just go with it.
So you wish for us to proceed?
Yes.
I thank you, sir. I will entertain any motions regarding the allowance of the application for a variance, noting that it would be a 12-foot by 16-foot shed as opposed to the 10 by 10 measurements noted in the public hearing notice, the change being for a scrivener's error. Are there any such motions?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we do approve it with the 3 foot of relief on the front and the 5 foot of relief on the side. I think the shed is very tasteful, and I do understand the gentleman's hardship, so I move that we approve.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion made, duly made and seconded. I will call for a vote. Tom?
No.
Bob? Oh, I'm sorry. Bob, I apologize. You are an alternate, so you cannot vote on this. So Tom, no. Al?
No.
Steve?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I must vote no. The application for a variance is denied. Mr. Seymour, you'll be notified formally in writing. You have the ability to appeal the decision, and that would be to a court.
That's it?
That's it, sir.
Thank you, guys.
And we are now calling, it is 7:48. The 7 o'clock public hearing, Matthew Troy, Mr. Troy was a couple minutes late, so we had to obviously step your matter back and hear the second matter. And so I am going to turn it over to Steve. Would you please read the public notice?
Yes. Town of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals, public hearing notice. Please take notice that a public hearing will be held on Thursday, November 17, 2022, at 7 p.m. by the Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals at the Oxford Town Hall, 325 Main Street, Oxford, Mass., to consider the variance application of Matthew A. Troy for property owned by the applicant located at 15 Old Dudley Road, Oxford, Mass., Assessors Map 33D, Parcel C10, in the R3 Residential Zoning District. The applicant requests a variance of the minimum side yard setback required as set forth in Chapter 10, Table 6 of the Oxford zoning bylaw to construct a 10 by 10 shed, and further in accordance with Chapter 40A, Section 10 of the MGL. The applicant can be reviewed in the office of the town clerk or land management department during normal office hours. Anyone desiring to be heard on this matter should appear at the place, date, and time designated, or submit the written comments to the board before the date of the hearing. See masspublications.org for legal notice. To the applicants of the Zoning Board of Appeals, you are hereby advised of the following provisions of the Oxford zoning bylaws. Appeals. Appeals to the Zoning Board of Appeals must be filed within 20 days from the date or order of decision which is being appealed, specifying the grounds thereof. variances. In order to grant a variance for the requirements of the bylaw, the zoning board of appeals must find that all of the following conditions have been met. There are unique circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, or topography of such land or structures that B, especially affect such land or structures, but do not generally affect the zoning district in which is located, and that C, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, but not of a personal nature to the petitioner or the appellant, and that D, desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the purpose of this bylaw. In accordance with the Chapter 40A, Section 15 of the Mass General Laws, you are hereby advised that any person aggrieved by the decision of the board relative to this matter must file an appeal as provided for Section 17 of said Chapter 40A within 20 days after the date of the filing of this decision in the office of the town clerk.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I turn the floor over to the applicant. You'd like to introduce yourself and let us know what it is you're asking for and where and why.
My name's Matthew Troy. I'm asking for a variance to build a shed. I have 25 feet from one side of my house to my property line and 15 from on the other side. So I want to be, in order to access my backyard, I would need to build my shed within 3 feet of the property line. That'll give me approximately 12 feet to get into my backyard, in case I need to do any kind of, construction, which I plan on building a patio and a stone wall eventually. And so I'd like to put it close to my property line so I can access my backyard, because that's the only access I have to my backyard.
Would you care to explain why you do not want to locate it in your backyard?
Well, most of my backyard is a steep hill. I have probably about 20 feet from the back of my house to where the hill starts. And if I put it, right next to my house, if it was touching my house, it would be 15 feet from the property line. You know what I mean? So basically, I don't have a place to put it. My front yard is large. My backyard is small. So I'd have to put it in my front yard to have any kind of, it would just look silly, but. So most of my backyard is a steep hill, as you can see on the map that I drew. And, go ahead.
We have kind of an overhead picture.
Yeah.
Does everyone have this?
No, I
Okay.
don't have.
Hi. So it looks like you have a fire pit?
Yeah.
Am I understanding that picture correctly?
I mean, I do have a small fire pit, but what do you, just that little tiny dot?
Well, it's maybe a little bit more than a dot.
Yes.
Hi, is that a fire pit in back?
Yeah.
Hi, so going away from your house,
Right where the back of the fire pit, that's, right there is like a 30-pitch slope. It doesn't look like it, but it's a steep hill.
Yeah, this is the line of demarcation where the hill starts. And
Okay.
That's what he put on this.
all right, is there anything else you'd like to present to the board, sir?
Well, you can see that little, I actually started building the pad, and my neighbor, Mr. Cahill right here, he's the one who notified me about the variance, because I didn't know about it either. So that's just a pad right there. That's gonna be the shed. You see that on the left?
You're referring to this right here?
Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. All right, that's
That's the base
pad
of the
for the
shed that I started building, then I stopped when he told me about the variance. And he Mr. Cahill said he had no problem, he just wanted me to be aware of it, and I should go through the proper channels, which I am. And so this space right here, that's the only access I have to my backyard, in between the corner of my house and the corner of the shed.
Okay.
So that's the only access I have to my backyard if I ever needed to do anything, which I do plan on doing.
All right, do you have anything else, sir?
Nope.
All right, Mary, please.
Sorry, I would just like to add that the size of the shed that he is seeking, 10 by 10, does not need a building permit. So most people realize that anything 200 square feet or less does not need a building permit, but they don't necessarily realize that they still have to comply with the dimensional requirements of the zoning bylaw, so.
Now, it is a 10 by 10. Okay. All right, then I will open it up to questions from the board. Tom, if you wouldn't mind going first, please.
The two trees that are, obviously, they're deciduous trees, there's no leaves and stuff on them. I could see the two trees here. Is that the base of the slope?
Yep, right where the trees are, that's where it
That's right.
slopes up.
I'm kind of familiar with the area. I just want to make sure that, so the tree itself is the bole of the tree is actually at the base of the slope.
Exactly.
Okay. So everything that we're seeing here from the overhead, from those trees, if you can see the stick figures, that's all steep slope. It's,
Yeah. I mean, it's steep too.
It's,
You can't tell right here at all.
30 degree is,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
we're-
about that.
you're not going bowling on that.
No, it's,
And,
you could sled down it. I mean, my son did when he was little, but
So that's number one question. Number two question, is there any reason why you couldn't put the shed, put the back line of the shed against the bottom of the slope and
It-
move it away from the property line?
well, if I go that way, then I won't have any access to my backyard.
Well, the way, what I'm looking at, I think that you're gonna have about the same amount of access to your backyard if you stick to the tree, or
Excuse
to
me,
see-
Tom, I'm not sure I'm following your question in terms of the location that you're referring to.
okay, what I would suggest is, looking at from the front of the house,
Yep.
you can see the tree with no leaves on it.
To the left or to the right?
To the left,
To the left,
there's
yep.
a tree with no leaves on it.
Right behind where the concrete pad
Concrete
is.
pad.
No, that's not concrete though. It's wood. I put a tarp over it.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
I'm sorry.
All right, so even better. We don't need an excavator to move it, so rolls up and you can move it, so. My point is that, I'd like to see it move to the right, as we're looking at the tree, to the right side of the tree, I would suggest. But is there any reason why it can't go to the right side of the tree? You're gonna end up with the same dimension, pretty much, of access to the backyard. And that, what it would do, would be take away the special need for an offset to the property.
From the corner of the shed to the corner of my house is about 12 feet. If I move it that way, it's really,
But I'm saying push it back also in,
I can't go back there.
well,
There's a hill.
okay, I'm not sure where the slope,
The slope
unfortunately.
is right at the back of the shed. I put it as far, there's a tree there and then a steep slope.
So how far behind the back of the shed or proposed shed is the tree?
Probably about, I would say about 2 feet, 2 or 3 feet. The stump of the tree,
All right,
the
and
base.
how far is the,
And it's very rooty there, so
if you were to move it back, the shed, to where the tree is, straight back, assuming the tree wasn't there, how far then over to the right would you have to move it to accommodate where the tree is currently? All right, in
sure I
other
understand.
words, if you were going to place the shed directly to the right of the tree. How-
It would be moved over 2 or 3 feet,
2 or 3 feet.
yeah.
And would go
Still
back.
need a variance.
No, I understand,
Okay.
but I think I'm getting at what Tom's question is. So it would be 2 to 3 feet over, and right now it's how close to the side yard?
3 feet.
3 feet.
To the property
So-
line?
So, yeah. So if you moved it over and back so that it's not in front of the tree, but it's next to the tree, you would add 2 to 3 feet on top, so we're 6 feet over, and it would be 9 feet of relief as opposed to 12 feet of relief. Tom, am I understanding your question correctly?
Right. Or, my next question, the second part of that question would be, how much of a hardship is it to remove that tree? How viable is the tree?
No, the tree's beautiful. It's a red maple. I don't wanna,
All
but
right.
even if I removed the tree, it wouldn't do me any good because there's a steep hill there. I
Well,
couldn't,
again, I understand that.
I can't go backwards anymore. I can't go backwards. Even if the tree wasn't there, I couldn't go backwards unless
I'm not saying
I
go back.
flattened out
What
my
I'm
yard.
saying is, well, if you put it laterally beside the tree,
3
Which-
feet, then you would see the base of the tree if I moved it 3 feet to the right. The tree is pretty much even with the left side of the shed.
So in other words, you could move it 2 feet back and 2 to 3 feet
No,
over.
I can't go back anymore. It's too rough. There's too many roots. I would never be able to put a base right now I have it on granite block, like curbed stone, curbing.
So the area to the right of the tree is not an even area of the ground? I want to understand what you're telling the board.
Yeah, so the back of the shed, if you went straight across my yard, the whole thing slopes up. It's very steep hill. So I couldn't go backwards unless I dug dirt out. I mean,
I don't think you're understanding me. If the tree wasn't there,
yeah,
that's my.
you could move the shed back 2 feet.
I could move it back 2 feet now and touch the tree.
Okay. So if you were to look at the ground to the right of the tree, is it a level area right to the right of the tree?
Well, 2 feet behind the rear of the shed is where the slope starts. Straight across. The whole yard's on the slope.
So
So if I could just go right, yeah, it's still flat if I just went directly.
All right, so if you move the shed back 2 feet and then over 2 feet, is that a flat area?
I mean, it's not completely flat, no.
Is it flat to the point where you can have a shed?
I could not move it backwards at all. That's where the slope starts. I could move it that way, but then I'm not gonna have hardly any access to my backyard for a piece of
So,
equipment, and I do keep a lot of work equipment back there. I drive my truck back there.
so the 2 feet of area from the tree to the back of the shed is not in even ground?
No. That's where it starts to slope right where the tree is.
So you can move it back 2 feet?
I don't want to touch my tree with the shed.
I understand. But you could move it back 2 feet and then to the right.
If I dug out some dirt, yes, I could.
Okay. I think that's what Mr. Purcell was getting at. Tom, have you had your question answered?
Yeah, I'm, my concern, I think we're trying to get, trying to put it into words, but my suggestion would have been something like, I don't know if you can see that, but it was to move the shed to the right of the tree and push it back, as far back as you could go without having it cut into the slope. If you did that, it appears as though, according to the drawings and from what I can see here, it isn't going to affect your access to the backyard. It's going to improve the setback requirement for the offset to the property line. I think you're gonna achieve the same thing. I really do. I'm convinced of that, but according to what I see here. Basically, I mean, ideally, I'd like to see, I don't know if you can see that from here, but that shed, we're looking at trying to put it right beside the tree.
This
But if
is
you
the
have to pull
scale.
it forward
This is
because
not-
of the slope, that's why
That.
I'm concerned with the
There.
drawing. If that isn't an accurate
big.
drawing on the slope, for the bottom of the toe of the slope. Is that where the toe of the slope really is, between those trees?
It would still be this
Yeah, right
big.
where the tree
Right
is,
where the tree is the toe
that's where
of
it
the
starts to
slope.
slope.
It'd be the same size as that.
My point was now, instead of having the shed here,
Still needs.
why not move it on the line between the two trees, but using
Well,
you're gonna end up with the same amount of access to the backyard.
yeah, but I'm gonna lose my backyard. Like, it's a small backyard, it's
I mean,
not.
this, I can understand that, but I have concerns about what you want and what's really available.
Well, I think what the applicant is looking for is to afford him the ability
wanna
to
keep-
have a shed and to maximize the continued use of his backyard. All right. Did you have any other questions,
I'll
Tom?
check with mine.
All right, Bob, if you would, please.
I'm all set.
All right, Al.
Yes. This drawing here,
Yeah,
is this now part of our hearing?
I'm sorry?
Is this part of our hearing?
yeah,
That was part of the
Record?
packet, yes.
Well, it
was
wasn't
provided-
originally.
It was provided this evening, so yes, it would be considered part of your packet. Would be considered part of the hearing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was
Oh,
part
yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Reference it into the record to put it into the record.
I have no other questions.
All right, thank you, Al. Steve?
Yes. Where your fire pit is, how far back from the fire pit does the slope start to,
right there, I put it right against the slope.
all right, so. And you mentioned earlier that sometime down the road, did you want to put a deck behind that house?
No, I already have a I wanna build a patio,
Oh, a patio,
yeah.
yeah. Is that gonna be the full length of the house, or pretty,
No, I was thinking probably something like 20 by 12 or something.
all right. Yeah, I'm trying to get in my own head that, following up what Tommy said, if you brought the shed to the right, and moved it up, now you have no access to the left side because you got that tree there. You don't want to cut that tree down.
Yeah,
You know.
plus that's a steep hill right there. I couldn't
Yeah,
drive
so-
behind the shed.
So now it all depends on coming down the left side of that property, turning in. Are you gonna have enough room with that little jog? Looks like a little entranceway behind the house?
No, that's a temporary, like a tarp shed.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm just trying to visualize that if you came down and you try to make that right turn to go into the
Yeah,
backyard, you
it's,
get,
I mean, it's actually narrower than it looks.
yeah.
It's,
Yeah. No, that's what I'm trying to look at, And, do you have any runoff from that hill? Any water? Any s-
no, I don't get any water.
No?
No. It's an old sand pit where old Dudley is, so
Okay.
I know it drains really well.
All right. Then that, would you say it was a red maple?
Yep, they both are, both trees.
Yeah, so the branches, if you were granted for the shed to be where it is, the branches go over actually the shed?
Well, just the first one, but I would cut the first one. It's only gonna, 8 foot tall,
Yeah.
the shed, well, to the base, and
Yeah,
then
it's
another
just
3.5
Maple is
feet
slow
for the.
growing. The maple is a slow growing tree anyway.
Yeah, they haven't grown much since I've been
Yeah.
there, so.
Well, I'm all set. Yep.
Thank you. Steve, Pete,
Hey,
please.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I mean, I understand there's unique topography here, and the ability to access the backyard. I think you can see potentially ladders back there. He mentioned he drives his truck back there. I think it would be the wrong thing to try and push the shed closer to the tree. I think that's gonna cause other issues down the road. I think it would be too prohibitive of a cost to have to try and remove the tree. Doesn't seem detrimental to the neighborhood. How big is the pad that's currently there, this temporary pad?
It's 10 by 10.
That's 10 by 10, okay, so that gives us, I think, more scale than this drawing.
Yeah.
Which shows, this just doesn't seem as much to scale where we know this is actual. I mean, it's a picture, it's a photograph. Is your septic in the front of your house?
Yep.
Okay. And you have town water?
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Pete. The proposed shed, single story?
Yeah.
And what's the purpose of the shed? What are you gonna store in there?
Lawnmowers, bicycles, snow blower, just basic stuff that's in my garage now.
No cars, no trucks?
Can't get it.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. If there wasn't anything else from any of the members of the board, I would entertain a motion to close. Oh, I'm sorry. Sir, you were so quiet.
He's a good neighbor, and he's got to keep a neat place over there.
Well, no, you gotta come up here. You gotta come up and you gotta state your name. You state your name and your address.
Harry Thompson from 11 Old Dudley Road. And he's 2 houses over from me, and keeps a great place there, neat place, and this is only gonna make the neighborhood look better.
Yeah, I recently sided my house, and it's gonna match my house, so it's gonna look nice.
All right.
It's not obtrusive, overbearing, and it'll fit in,
Yeah.
my
All right.
opinion.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the comments. All right, then, if there are no other discussions or issues, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing,
So moved.
and I'll hear a second,
Second.
and we'll vote. Tom,
Yes.
Bob, Al, Steve,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
and I will also vote in the affirmative. The public meeting is hereby closed. Is there any discussion from members of the board before I'd entertain a motion? There being no discussion, is this the? I would entertain a motion to allow the application for a variance of the single-story 10-foot by 10-foot shed and relief of
12.
12 feet. Thank you, Pete. Are there any such motions? And I'll hear a second.
Second.
All right, Al, you got that one? You hit the buzzer faster than Pete did. Any discussion on that? There being none, we'll vote. Tom?
Yeah, yes.
All right, Bob, you can't vote on this one. I apologize. Al?
Yes.
Yes.
Steve? Pete?
Yes.
And I will vote in the affirmative as well. The application for a variance has been passed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Sir, I wish you the best. Mary will notify you in writing, and that is when the appeal period starts.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Make sure Harry gets home all right.
And there being no, are there any new matters anyone would like to discuss? There being none, I would entertain a motion to close the meeting. And moved by Pete, seconded by Tom, and we'll vote. Tom?
Yes.
Al?
Yes?
Yes.
And I'll vote in the affirmative. We are done for the evening.